Yeah, these films are very, very interesting. You can actually learn a lot from these things.
Sure.
Saka, will all the seeds germinate if I use this method?
Not all the seeds will germinate. Some will be eaten by birds, by rats. Even if you look at your seed pack, it's written 85% germination. So there's about 15% that is not going to germinate. That's why you need to buy more.
Yeah, but that's an expense to me.
It's not an expense. Seed is your cheapest input. Let me show you.
About 2 to 3 weeks after your plants germinate, you must thin the plants down to 2 plants per station. Try and make sure you pull the plant out with the roots. Sometimes only one seed will germinate, sometimes none, but you must still try and make sure that there is an average of 2 plants to each planting hole. You can do this by leaving plants in the holes on either side of the empty hole. For example, where there is only 1 plant in a planting hole, leave 3 plants in the planting hole next to it. If there are no plants in a hole, leave 3 on both sides. This way, you still have an average of 2 plants per station. Never be tempted to not thin the plants. This will give you too high a population and you will get a lower yield than if you had thinned down to 2. No form of transplanting or gap filling should be done. Top dressing. Having applied our basal fertilizer before planting, we will then apply a nitrogen top dressing at about 3 weeks after germination. What is normally recommended is to split the top dressing with a 5-cup application at 3 weeks after germination, and then a second 5-cup top dressing as the plants begin to tassel. This spreads the risk of leaching and loss of nutrients, especially in very wet periods. An organic option of applying chicken manure is also a good option. Chicken manure soup, which is made by hanging a bag of chicken manure in water for 3 weeks and then diluted 10:1, is very effective. This can be applied every second week for maximum reward. Place the top dressing using the cup into a hole made with a sharp stick, 10 centimeters from the plant on the upslope side. This means if there is rain, the fertilizer will be washed towards the plant rather than away from it. It would be ideal to cover the fertilizer with a little bit of soil. Stalk borer treatment. 28 days after the first rains of the season is when the stalk borer larvae will hatch. This is when the larvae are at their most vulnerable and when a treatment should be applied. A chemical treatment is very cheap and easy to apply. Usually the chemical is in granular form and a small pinch is applied to the funnel of each plant. This treatment can be applied any time after thinning, but preferably closer to a month after germination. Post-harvest stalk lodging is encouraged to break the life cycle of the stalk borer. If the maize stalk is broken off at ground level during the harvesting process, this removes potential breeding sites.
So you see, you need to do research as well on pesticides, because pests are other things that destroys your harvest. So you need to look at other ways, even natural ways that you can control pests.
I left school a long time ago. You keep saying research.
Did I mention something about crop rotation?
You said something before, but what do I have to do? I have to plant them upside down.
It's not planting them upside down. But on your piece of land where you planted maize, next year you must plant another crop which is not in the same family as maize, like your groundnuts, like your soybeans, so that you reduce the damage to pests and diseases. Because a pest for maize is not a pest for groundnuts. Let me show you on this iPad.
Crop rotation.
Crop rotation is the practice of growing different crops in the same land to improve soil fertility. It is a vital part of conservation farming. Crop rotation increases the soil fertility because legume crops such as beans and groundnuts add nitrogen back into the soil. This means you are able to use less fertilizer. Crop rotation means growing one crop in a piece of land one season and the next season changing to a different crop. There are different rotations you can use. For example, you can grow maize one year, then soya beans or groundnuts the next, then maize again the following year, as in this diagram. Rotation is a very important tool that can be used to control weeds, pests, and diseases. By rotating crops from different families, we are able to break the life cycles of pests and diseases.